Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we have a lot of carbon fiber goodies that we are adding to my Toyota GR86. I've already got started with a few of them just to get my bearings with all of these parts that I have. Now you can buy one of these as a kit, you can buy everything individually of course, and I will have all that info down in the description and a link to where you can purchase all of these items. Now let's start off with the kit of all these parts. So we have the V2 carbon fiber front splitter, V2 carbon fiber side skirts, as well as the carbon fiber rear spats. So that is one kit. You can buy all three of those together, or you can buy them individually, of course. And then I also have the full genuine carbon fiber side mirror caps. So these are the stock ones. Then we have the full cover there. This is the V1 carbon fiber trunk mounted spoiler. And then we can't forget to add a little bit more horsepower with the carbon fiber gas cap cover. So we have a lot of cool parts to add to the 86. As you can tell, I already have it ready to go. And these are the tools that you are going to need. I'm going to start with the side skirts. So I have the car up in the air right now. The kits actually come with a lot of hardware. So all of this hardware here that you can see, I'm actually going to just be using screws. So these are 8 by 1 inch, and I got a pack of about 40 of those. And with the car up in the air, I have the jack stands holding the car up, and I'm actually going to use my jack as a second pair of hands. So I can line this up right in the front. The skinnier portion is going to go towards the front of the car. We have this thicker portion with this massive curve that kind of lines up with this bulge just above the side skirt. So that will be in the rear, of course. And then I'm using tape as well to help hold this in place. So that way I can better align this and just have it kind of loosely fit where I need it to be and not have it move around on me. So just place some tape wherever you see fit best. Up underneath, there's actually an area where you can line this up. So hopefully you can see right here, this black plastic piece. As you can hopefully tell, I did take a small chunk of that away, so that way I can push this all the way to the back. And what's nice about up underneath the car is there's actually a groove that this side skirt can line up with. So if you can see, hopefully the lighting there, you can see this ridge going all the way down is where the side skirt is going to line up with. So up front, I do have to push it a little bit farther towards the middle of the car. And then I also want to make sure that the front and the rear are lined up. So I'm going to push this back about 1/4 inch just to be flush with that fender liner there. And then it will stick out just a little bit farther in the back, but I think that gives it a much better look and you won't have any chances of rubbing up front. Not that it's that close, but when I lower the car, maybe do some wider tires, I just don't want that sticking out, of course. In the back, it's going to be a little bit easier to have some poking out there, but overall, the fitment is really good. That is the one thing up underneath that you do just have to trim that a little bit, because there is one hole right there that you need to make sure you get hidden and underneath. So with that piece that was in the way, the hole was kind of right about there, and when I took it out, I was able to push it in. And so as we move on to drilling the holes, I'm going to start with that one that I showed earlier, the one that stuck out just slightly after making that adjustment with this plastic piece. This is the one that I want to start with because I want this to be in enough to where I drill the hole, of course, it's not going to make it to the edge. It won't crack the side or anything like that. We want a really nice, clean spot for this to go. So that's the first hole to start with. And I'm doing the pilot hole as well, so that way we don't crack anything. This gives it a much easier way to thread the screw. So I have this exactly where I want it, and we'll do that small pilot hole. So from there, with my 8 by 1 inch screw, we will line it back up with the hole. I have my drill set on 3, since we're dealing with plastic. You of course don't want to over torque any of these. They're just going in to be nice and snug. And then from there, I'm going to use my screwdriver, do the rest by hand, just to make sure I don't crack anything. And like that, we have screw number 1 in place. So that way, it is nice and flush. You can't see that hole at all. And we have a good bit in the back sticking out. I also tried to bring this as far out as I could, especially up front, to give us this small lip here. So you can see that hole is just poking out. Same with the one in the back. So I'm gonna push them in very slightly, but we can get a good bit of that carbon fiber showing all the way to the rear. So that's one of the screws done. Let's get the rest in. And with the last screws in place, we now have both the driver and the passenger carbon fiber side skirts installed on this car. So before we get it down on the ground to take another look, let's just recap up underneath where I have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back. I've kind of spaced them out in the middle and then 2 up front. So there are a few that I didn't do. I wanted to stay as close to that inside edge as I could. So that way, if I ever take this off, that way you won't really see any of those holes. They're gonna be very, very small too. And so I'm going to do the exact same thing like I did for these side skirts. However, there is some hardware that I will be using for these holes right in the middle. Because of this gap here, I will show you that here in just a second. But with my extra set of hands and my tape, I can get this in a somewhat good position here. So I am almost finished up with this front splitter. I want to show you the passenger side that I have completed 3 so far. I've actually used 3 of the spacers that have come with this kit because there's going to be a slight gap since the bumper is not entirely level. I am using those spacers that came with the kit. Up underneath, I have 2 of the screws that I've been showing in today's video. The last bolt back here is actually a bolt that came with the kit. So it is this bolt right here along with the nut. And the reason that I'm doing that is because that is a very thin side of the bumper and it's just plastic up underneath. So there's nothing for the screws to grab onto. So I am using one of those on each side. The 2 in the middle, just like you see on this side, are the screws, and then I'll use that last one. Now on both sides of the far ends, this screw hole right here, I am actually not going to use. And the reason for that is because up underneath that, there's one of those plastic tabs that holds the skid plate in place. So hopefully I don't have to regret not installing one on those sides. I'll keep track of it though. I just don't want to drill out that plastic trim piece for the fender liner up underneath. So I'm hoping with the 3 on both sides and then possibly going down the middle, that should be enough. And so now I'm going to use these longer spacers that the kit comes with, and I'm gonna place those up front. So this is going to hide that silver screw, of course, but also give it that straight look that it needs, especially with the sides of the bumper. So these are self-tapping screws that I'm using. Since I can't get on the backside for a nut, the other screws that I was using were a little bit too short. These are going to work just great. Putting them up into the underside here. So that's it for the front splitter, and hopefully you can tell with those pieces there, just gives it more of a clean look. Actually gives it kind of a cool look too, and having all that extra structure. Now, like I mentioned earlier, with those very end pieces, there's a little bit of wiggling there. I'm just gonna put 3M underneath both ends. Rather than the screw, I can just stick those in. It is pretty well secured. So front lip is done, side skirts are done. Now it's time to work on these rear spat pieces, which is this piece right here. You'll notice that this piece has 2 large holes right through it. These are actually going to line up with these 2 giant trim pieces underneath. It looks like they are holding part of this rear diffuser in place. So they're not going to go all the way through, but that is your point of reference to line it up. So just like that. From there, I have the little 1-inch screws that I've been using. I didn't drill any pilot holes just because this seems pretty thick, so there was no need to do that. But that is the bulk of it done. Now I have the self-tapping screws that I mentioned earlier along with the long sleeves. So those are going to go up on the top just like up front. It's going to fill in this gap here. and you can attach this on the backside. So again, I'm not drilling a pilot hole for these ones either. I'm just making sure that I'm going nice and straight right up into this diffuser. As we move on to the full side mirror replacements now, they do offer coverings if you want to do that rather than installing a whole new one. But in order to take this off, it's actually in two pieces. Hopefully you saw that earlier. We have the upper section, gloss black plastic for this lower section. So I have a trim removal tool, and what I found is on the inside of the mirror, so I'm just gonna start on the top if I can. But if I can get this down into the inside, this is where I can start to get a little bit of wiggle room right on the inside here. So if I can just get a finger in here. Oh, you already heard that. So I got the inside. So I'm just getting the top off. That's another clip. Oh, and with quick hands, you can catch it. Nothing's broken on the backside, so we are good. Now this is the tricky part, getting the lower section off. All right, and we are good. No tabs broken. So again, just take your time, wiggle it, and it'll come straight out. We have the easiest installation ever. So with our new full carbon fiber, you will line it up. Of course, I say that it's the easiest install. And that should be good. Now we got the carbon fiber. Now let's move on to the massive carbon fiber spoiler. So the kit comes with all this 3M that you can stick on the back. I probably don't need this small one right here, but I'm just going to put it there and have that ready to go. And then a really neat trick that I'm going to do, instead of peeling this entire thing off, so that way I can get this placed where I need it to, minus having this one here, you can probably get away with just this one. I'm going to have this started and just have it hanging over the side. But I'm gonna go ahead and heat up all of this as well as the top of the trunk. And then once I have it on in place, then I can start pulling this away and it'll be stuck on. Really easy installation to do. All you need is a hair dryer and then a little bit of time. All right, so that looks pretty darn good. And then here's that trick. So that way it's off. I might heat it up a little bit more, but some firm pushes, and this should be good to go. And last but not least, we can't forget to add about 5 horsepower with the carbon fiber gas cap cover. I have everything heated up. Pretty simple, straightforward. We're just gonna push this right over top, give it a good firm push, and just like that, we got extra horsepower. So there we have it. About 3 hours later, all of the carbon fiber is now installed for the 86 out in the sunlight. It looks really good. I am especially liking this front splitter. I thought it was going to be a little bit too large, but now that it's out of the garage, it looks so cool, especially with those 4 posts running in the middle. Nice subtle design, but you can see those if you get really, really low. Genuine carbon fiber mirror caps look very nice paired with those side skirts. And then we got that extra horsepower hiding behind this door. And that trunk spoiler is my favorite part. This is very similar to the premium model, I believe, that has that trunk mounted spoiler. Maybe it's a little bit larger, but I definitely like it. It looks like it could be factory, even with that carbon fiber finish. And so I might need to do a few more parts in the back with those pieces that I added on both sides. Maybe make that diffuser a little bit more aggressive with those added parts. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video installing all this carbon fiber for my 86. I'll have all these parts down in the description where you can order these for yourself. And you can also get a few other finishes too if you're not a fan of carbon fiber. But I think it looks great, especially with the color of my 86. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up. Consider smashing that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.